did not like it.
Thankfully, we all agreed that that D&D movie was a piece of shit. So
I will kill you.
I was like, man, I can't remember if I've seen Randy actually post a review of it or not, but we both came and we were like, that was fantastic.
Dude,
I really hope Randy doesn't hate it.
I told you it actually has the branding on it, so he's gonna like it. if we had suddenly took it away and said, haha, it's actually animated, this is actually just a live action Vox Machina.
It's Seth MacFarlane's Vox Machina, Randy.
Episode 430 of the TV Dudes, recorded April 5th, 2023. Big Door Prize. This week, we're talking about the new Apple Plus show Big Door Prize, The Power on Prime, and Unstable on Netflix. Plus, we've got thoughts on the latest episode of Party Down and the last episode... Plus, we've got thoughts on the last episode of Party Down and the latest episode of Ted Lasso. Let's try that again.
Wait, stop those. Reverse it.
Stop it.
Flip it.
Randy, you're a mess.
I didn't... But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Les.
I'm Nick, and I'm realizing my true potential as a podcaster.
Slash Whistler.
The card actually said alone, which I don't feel like is a potential.
Well, no, I mean, obviously they meant podcaster.
But I think that's what they meant.
My mind was rejecting the idea that this was the last Party Down, possibly ever, and would not let me say the words, I guess. So,
oh, man. Well, they didn't treat it like it. We'll discuss.
No, we will discuss, yes, because that did not feel like a series finale. And yeah, before we discuss, let's jump in and have our appetizers for the week. Why don't one of y'all start?
Nick, go ahead.
Dude, we watched all the same shit again.
That's true.
Y'all just need to start splitting your TV diaries.
Well, it's unfair. Like, one of us fills it out first, and the other one just basically cuts and pastes it and adds like one MST3K or a night court.
Yeah, well, I actually hung out with Fanny's kids this weekend, so I got to watch Attack on Titan.
Yes, and Puss in Boots: The Last Witch.
And Puss in Boots: The Last Witch rules.
I need to watch that. We were watching Shrek in the store the other day while one of the staffers was watching Shrek, and I was like, I never saw Shrek 3 and 4. I liked Shrek 1 and 2 fine. I never saw any of the Puss in Boots. And inevitably what happens is everyone who hears Puss in Books, they're all like, oh, but I heard that last one was amazing. And so what's the deal, Nick? What is it? Is it like something particular about this one? Is it just that like Puss in Boots is great, I think?
Well, I haven't watched the previous one.
Me neither. I've seen none of them.
So, but I've only watched this one, but I'll tell you what, this one, it focuses on his last life, and rather than, it ditches the metaphor of it by the end. Like, the big bad wolf is a bounty hunter in it, but it is like, no, I'm death. I am literally, Puss in Boots fights death in this movie, the concept of death.
It's pretty heavy for a kid's movie.
Right? Also, people die. Jack Horner, that sat in the corner, he's played by John Mulaney. He's big Jack Horner. He's a big mafia boss that has a bunch of magical items that he's hoarding, and he wants the last wish judged by this wishing star or whatever. So he and his baker's dozen, which are his suicide squad of just crazy bakers, and they all die following him. And not like cute, like, well, they fell off something and you never just see them again. I saw dude's skeletons.
Wow, that's again very intense for a kids movie.
Just so intense. It just really, did not expect that. Also, he finds he thinks is a dangerous locust. It's actually a Jiminy Cricket, and the kids were at again, kids are impressed by the most random things. They dude, did you voice the character for this? And I'm like, no, he's just doing a Jimmy Stewart impression. Jiminy Cricket, it just sounds like this. I'm like, oh, well, there's good in everybody. Isn't that right, Mr. Horner? I'm like, actually, I just kill so many people, Jiminy, and feel nothing about it. In fact, if I do feel something about it, it's usually joy. Oh, God! Oh, no!
All right, you've sold me on this. I'm definitely going to have to watch this movie.
There's good in everybody, Jiminy. There's good in everybody. Not me. Stop him.
Did you watch anything that wasn't fairy tale characters murdering each other?
Well, I watched Attack on Titan, which is a bunch of German fairy tale killing each other. I went to the theaters and I watched John Wick Chapter 4.
No, he said not fairy tale killing each other.
Right.
that is the
that's right,
theme.
Baba Yaga
Yeah.
or Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga.
Yeah. That is your theme for this week. You found it by accident.
Yeah, I John Wick Chapter 4 is so long, and yet, god damn, it is every action sequences in it is so fucking cool. Like, it is probably some of the best action sequences you've ever seen. Donnie Yen plays a blind warrior again, like he did in Rogue One, only this time, his blindness really comes into it. Like, he fights like a blind guy would of like, he fights with guns, but he takes a guess at your location and empties a clip at you.
Okay.
Which is kind of awesome, and he has to ask John a couple times during the fights, hey, John, you dead? John, now if you're not talking, like, that's not fair. That's against the rules, John.
If
John,
you're a live cop, you have to tell me.
John, are you dead? Scott Adkins plays like a fucking Batman villain in this. He plays like the Penguin. He's in a fat suit so that you can watch a big giant guy suddenly start to do martial arts he should not be able to do because it's Scott Adkins in there.
You know, you say Scott Adkins, and I immediately think, who's the actor from 30 Rock?
Oh, yes, Pete Hornberger.
Isn't that Scott Adkins as well?
Yes, I believe
Yes.
AD. I believe
Yes.
it's ADKIN versus AT.
I mean, I did just Google it. And I'm like, okay, there's another Scott Adkins.
I don't know. I might be wrong on the other Scott Adkins.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I think it's T. I think you're thinking D.
Yes. I was pretty sure it wasn't.
Watch Pete Hornberger whoop ass.
I watched some more of Arcane, just in between some stuff. Watched the first John Wick, in comparison to how the fucking lore drop that is John Wick. Man, you really realize how John Wick, the first movie, is just. I mean, it hints at a Continental Hotel, which is kind of neat, but it is not about that at all. Like, it is really just.
It's an hour and a half gun car fight.
Yeah. And there's no twists about it. It's just like from the moment all the audience knows, like, well, I mean, he's got to kill everyone that was involved in killing his dog. That's the only way that this movie ends. Me and Les watched some stuff that, like, not a lot of my recommendations this week. It's mostly Les been showing me some stuff. And in his showing me some stuff, he showed me Buffalo Soldiers, which was an interesting Joaquin Phoenix movie.
Ed Harris, Scott Glenn, Anna Paquin, Michael Pena. It's a weird cast.
Yeah, it's about basically a guy skimming off the military while he's in Germany of just like selling shit on the side, surplus style.
Yeah,
and
mop and glow, anything. Just there's a black market.
It's interesting watching a character learn nothing and in no way getting and growing as a character.
At all.
Like, no, like
at all. He just rolls out of it and like by the end of it, he's in Hawaii picking up like setting up the same scam again.
Watching Ed Harris, Ed Harris? Ed Harris being a dumbass.
Oh, man.
Do we really need all this much mop glow?
Well, cleanliness is next to godliness, sir.
Well, okay.
All right.
Signing off. He also showed me one of the greatest movies I've ever fucking seen, which is Sugar and Spice. It is Bring It On if it was also a Guy Ritchie bank heist.
Oh, shit. God damn it. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah. Drop Dead Gorgeous made by Guy Ritchie is just fucking...
Dude, it is pretty... It opens with them in the mugshot line in like the lineup of like so the witnesses like can identify him, and at the picture as soon as it's taken they all take their poses, their stances.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. All right, it's going on my list.
And I was like, flawless opening.
Yeah, I was
no notes.
I make Nick watch a lot of shit where it's like, yeah, you're going to find one thing that you enjoy in this, but mostly it's an hour and a half of nostalgia for me and a terrible movie for you. But I was so happy that I looked over like as the credits were rolling in Sugar and Spice and he was like, flawless execution.
Yep.
Well, also the movie is narrated via the B squad of the cheerleader squad. The cheerleaders have a B squad.
And she's talking to the cops the whole time.
And they're ratting on the A squad. Because the A squad is the one that did
amazing.
the bank heist, and the B squad are like, fuck them bitches.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm seriously, it's one good decision after another in that fucking movie. Oh, and what's his name as the dumb jock?
James Marsden.
James Marsden as he's Danny Rojas levels if a puppy got his wish granted to become a real boy.
Yeah. Gets this girl pregnant. They decide to keep it, and go because everything's going to be perfect because they're that shiny of a couple.
Oh God, he's
And-
so stupid.
Oh my God.
But just
and then,
adorable.
of course she has to rob a bank to
Oh yeah,
pay for it.
Well, you have to. You have to.
Yeah. There was another one you made me watch, right?
Let's see. Well, you didn't talk about Remo Williams from
Oh, right.
Adventure Begins.
Yes.
Wow, I'm sorry, Randy. You like finishing off that felt weird.
I saw Remo Williams.
I don't make these things up.
I saw it on VHS back in the 80s.
Hey, did you know Fred Ward was in something that wasn't Tremors? No, I don't think that's right. He was.
Pretty
It's
sure it's the
true.
first place I saw Fred Ward, actually.
Man, they really thought that was going to be a franchise. It is
They
not.
were so sure of it. Yep.
You want to see a very British man play a very Asian character? Oh, yikes.
Oh, man. Yeah, Joel Grey is the greatest Korean on the planet.
And then we had to go to YouTube to watch If Looks Could Kill.
Yes, the Richard Grieco classic.
Oh, the Richard Grieco classic. Those are not a phrase.
So it's like Yahoo Serious Film Festival. You know all the words, but not in that order.
They don't make sense. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, as far as like a teen silly James Bond ripoff, that movie came out in '91, and I was exactly the right age to watch it and be like, "Fuck yeah!" And it is only on YouTube now. It did not make the hop to any streaming.
Well, we watched Maniac Cop movies.
Yes, the first two, Maniac Cop and Maniac Cop 2, which, man, the first one is actually not like it. It pretty much takes the stance far earlier than you think a movie would that cops are fucking bastards.
Right? For a 1988
I mean,
movie.
like it cuts to a man on the street interview of this guy.
A black
that's
guy,
like, yeah, man, cops been killing my friends for a long time. What are we talking about? Like,
does this cop started to kill white people? Oh, I guess
no, I get it. Like,
that seems like a
it's
shame
just
for
a,
you.
yeah, they've got a serial killer
Damn.
cop that's going around. Like, people keep running up, like running from their mugger and running into a cop, and the cop snaps their neck, kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And this, they cut to a man on the street interview of this black guy who's like, yeah.
You're like reporting this like this is news. I don't know what you're talking about.
And, otherwise it is a schlocky movie to suddenly have like this. Damn, they kind of nailed that.
It's a movie where you very much are like, Bruce Campbell, you feel like you belong here.
Bruce Campbell's in it. Larry Cohen, that wrote the stuff, wrote it. And then Maniac Cop 2. Both of these star Robert Z'Dar, which if you think Bruce Campbell's got a chin, no, man. Robert Z'Dar has the jawline of the 80s. It is an actual.
They had to cast
it's
those
a
two
genetic
together
condition
so
called
that
cherubism.
in the second act of the first movie, you can like pretend that they're convincing you that it might be Bruce Campbell that is the Maniac Cop.
By the second movie, like there's nobody else on the planet that would cut the silhouette of Robert Z'Dar. Yeah, he's just a beast. And the second movie is actually kind of badass, though they do just rerun the best stunt from the first movie. They just open with.
Yeah. Also, I didn't
stunt.
realize this until I watched like Doom Asylum and some other like 70s to 80s horror movies. Randy, did you realize you could just not explain how your monster's created?
I did not.
He's just back to life.
He's back to the dead, but they like.
I don't mean hand wave it away like, oh, he was struck by lightning or oh, there was a curse. No, nothing.
No, I mean,
explanation.
Like,
he's
just never
back.
Explain it.
He's just back. And in the second movie, they do like, why fuck up a good thing? He's just back more again.
He's more back again. He's back again more. And also, for those of you saying there's no difference between the first two movies, how dare you, sir? The first one is an 80s movie. The second one is made in the cusp of the 90s, and of course there's a difference. The second one has a Maniac Cop hip-hop remix in the credits.
Maniac Cop rap.
Which I will now put here.
You better watch out when you hear that sound. It means that the Maniac Cop's around. Once upon a time, he was a super cop, but the bad guys framed him to make him stop. They put him in prison where they tried to kill him. But he broke out, now he's the villain. Bullets won't hurt him. I know it sounds like jive, but we're not sure if he's dead or alive.
Set him on fire, I shoot him with an Uzi. But he'll show up in your jacuzzi. You can run him over, you can feed him poison. Push him out a window and it only annoys him. You better believe me if they think I'm lying. When he show up, people start dying. He's out for vengeance and he can't be stopped. That's why they call him the Maniac Cop.
And throughout the rest of this episode, probably.
Can't be any worse than me singing Last Resort around my house.
I am so sorry for all the
days.
Papa Roach that ended up in the last episode.
Oh my god.
Cut my life.
Oh, don't do it, man. I am the kind of pet owner that sings songs to their cat, and
He's texted me a whole song
for days. Like I've just alt lyrics to Papa Roach.
His name is Julius.
Yes.
Like, talk about
early morning, he's meeping. Don't give a fuck if Les is still sleeping.
Your wife threatened to
man,
put
Lisa
me
was
to
ready
the
to
street.
kill us both.
What have you done to my husband? You will leave. I've opened my home to you.
I spared it to Fanny because growing up in Canada, that song just didn't make it up there. She was wholly unaware of Papa Roach.
That's like like an ancient tribe that's like, not touched by the indecencies of
Right.
man.
I paused and was like, nah, first contact rule.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
That's a pre-warp society.
Yeah.
That's a pre-roach.
That's a pre-roach society.
You can't violate the fucking Prime Directive.
Right.
The fuck were we talking about?
I don't know. I blacked out.
I think me getting you to, or us both watching. I didn't make you watch Maniac Cop. We made that decision together.
We watched some of half Blood Beat.
Yes, the psychic samurai orgasm movie from the 80s.
Those are just the parts we watched. We can't comment on the rest of it. You can't hold that against every other. Bloodhook was also set in Wisconsin.
I know.
Also, Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead was
on top of all the weirdness of Blood Beat, which is truly one of the weirdest. I'm not kidding. Like this, there's a psychic killer. It is a samurai. It is somehow tied to a woman's orgasms. There are huge stretches of this movie where no one says any dialogue, and not because they're making like an
let's be.
There's just long stretches where nobody talks.
To be fair, what would they say?
No, I don't know. There's no explanation for what's happening. Like the movie gives none.
Every week you guys come on here and you talk about some movie that sounds like the worst movie I've ever heard of, and then every week you top yourselves.
You'd think we'd stop being able to do it, but the bench just gets deeper.
Yeah. No, There's.
As soon as you're done with your full moon subscription and you go, well, that's the bottom of the barrel. Hey, what's over there? Night Flight? Oh,
shit. Yeah, when you realize that you've been watching prestige trash and there's trash underneath that.
Like, we're so far into the ones, like, there's a range of reviews in the 1-star system.
We're in like a bad movie quantum verse.
Yeah, but what type of 1-star movie is it?
Yeah, like oh, no. From 0 to 1, there's like a Hellraiser, like such sites to show you.
You'd think there wouldn't be such a stark difference between Sharks of the Corn and Shark-and-Saw Women's Prison, but I'm telling you, there is.
Yes. Sharks of the Corn's unwatchable. Shark-and-Saw Women's Prison Massacre's almost
watchable.
Good.
Avalanche Sharks, surprisingly watchable.
Right.
Very high on the 1 out of 5 scale. That's a very high 1.
Yes.
Out of 5.
Was that?
Oh, I forgot. I've been dipping into your list for the last 10 minutes.
it's the same list. We also, of course, watched Party Down. Finished out Shadow and Bone, which I'll say to you, like I understand how many sets of characters there are moving around and stuff, but damn, the payoff of that season was cool.
Ends strong.
Yeah, really ends strong. They do a couple of things of like, it's not quite that good place. Let's just leap forward with plot. But in terms of like dealing with the fold,
they deal with it.
Fucking deal with it.
Yep.
It's if they move on, I hope they get another season. Like they dealt with it, and I was like, I don't really care about another season. And then like 15 more minutes went by, and I was like, well, fuck, now I do.
It's like the idea of like, cool, but what about the fallout? What would happen after you got rid of Chernobyl?
Because there's just a stretch of
now there's a whole political element of like, well, now that Ravnica can reforge, now all the like the northern Fjords, they are not into that.
Yeah,
now suddenly there's all this new land that is just now fucking up for grabs.
But it's also parched desert. Like when the fold goes away, it's just a wasteland. It was cool. I want to. If they don't come back, that was an awesome series finale. But I really hope they get to come
Jesper
back.
has another great fight scene where he just shoots some dude's fingers off.
Oh shit, Jesper gets a lot cooler.
I think I may just have to watch Jesper Supercuts on YouTube because I think that's what I'm interested
just do
in.
that. He, his trickster shit. He finally takes up a notch, and it's awesome. It's really cool.
Also, I love like the guys like their bomb maker. Like I don't trust a bomb maker that has all his fucking fingers. How did he learn from like how did he learn? Nah, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, like, no, you're not really a bomb maker. Show me your hands.
Nah, that's bullshit. And also, it's a show that not all the time, it's not invincible, but every once in a while, it will show you some bitch get shot in the neck or get cut straight in half.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is
You're
pretty
like, oh,
fucking
yeah, this is
cool.
not CW. Jesus
Like, oh,
Christ.
damn.
Yeah. I feel like it's worth the time investment just if you are waiting for any other fantasy show to come back. This one's, it's got the
I'm
depth
telling
of
you,
a
it's
Ring
the
of Power type show.
I'm
but
telling you, it's the
way more fun.
strongest live action fantasy on right now.
Definitely more exciting than Wheel of Time or any of those.
I didn't finish Wheel of Time or Ring of Power, but
interesting because I like both of those.
Yeah, it was definitely, it took a minute of like, son of a bitch, how do I get back into this? Like, I don't know if I can get back into season 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like it rewarded the time I spent kind of getting back in the campaign of it. Let's see, we also watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
I didn't catch that.
Nick hadn't seen, but I had. It is on Paramount now. As soon as I found that out, it was like 11 at night. I was like,
what a deliciously insane movie.
I'll watch Bodies, Bodies, Bodies right now. It's just, oh man.
Me with a good time.
I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but watch it. It is so fun on rewatch, and it was so fun rewatch. If you're going to rewatch it with someone else who hasn't seen it and just keep your fucking mouth shut. It was so fun watching Nick watch it. Knowing he would ask questions, and I'm like,
this week was a lot of less watching me watch movies.
Yeah, it was fun. Let's see, we saw the Dungeons & Dragons movie, which we'll discuss in Patreon. Watched an episode of White Collar, watched some 30 Rock. Fanny, one of her comfort shows is Girls, which I beg her to not make me watch unless she absolutely just has to.
Comfort show, wow.
Yeah, I can't do. I hate.
Not Sex and the City.
Oh, I've actually watched a bunch of that with her.
Sex and the City, I find Sex and the City watchable. Girls, I find fucking.
Speaking of Sex and the City, Darren Star, showrunner and writer of most of Sex and the City, writer of If Looks Could Kill.
Makes a lot of sense.
But one of her, so every once in a while on my Hulu, like I'll just see Girls just like fly past over a few days, and I'm like, son of a bitch. But one of her other shows that she loves to watch that I've never gotten into is Transparent. And I realize Tambor is a fucking prick.
Yeah.
But there's so much good work done on that show. Like, I've heard such good things about it. Every time I've tried to watch the pilot or the first couple of episodes, I just couldn't plug in. Like, everyone in the family is such a mess and such a wreck. It's just not fun. It's not escapism or fun for me. And so by her kind of binging through it, like, she is kind of beginning to pick her battles on like, oh, hey, would you watch an episode of Transparent? I'm at this plot line. I think you dig. And like, I'm getting to see the characters a little further on. It's not, they're still messes, but not at the same scale. And it's like several of them have found shit to do that's more interesting than just being a wreck. It's still not a show that I'm just going to sit down and binge on my own, but it's been kind of fun watching someone else binge watch a show. Because if I watched an episode of season 1 and was like, not for me, I'm probably not going to go, oh, hey, Parks and Rec style, let's try an ep from season 2 and see if Picard got better.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not going to, if I did, and I still didn't like season 2, there's no fucking way I'm going to go, hey, why don't we jump to the middle of season 4 and watch 3 episodes in a row? But that's exactly what I did. And they were really good.
I can see that.
Holy crap, that's really well written TV. Yeah. Also, Jay Duplass is just a great actor. Like, really, the Duplass brothers are an embarrassment of riches. But yeah, so I watched a few episodes of Transparent. Really enjoyed it. I would say it's still a little heavy for me most nights. It's just not what I want to sit down and watch. But damn, really well written. So the ones I was watching were them in Israel, and they basically meet a long lost relative that they thought was dead because somebody had said it like more just nobody had ever talked about him, and like, well, wait, are we sure they're dead? Do they live in fucking Israel? Like, it's both hilarious and poignant and weird, and played out really well. And I think, outside of the homework, I think that's it.
So I watched last week.
I'm sorry, Quantum Leap. I should have put that on.
Oh yeah, let's start by talking about
Quantum Leap and
I
Night
watched
Court.
Leap.
I watched obviously.
That was the season finale of Quantum Leap? Is that
Yes.
where we're at?
Yeah.
Man, I love this episode. Starting off, the whole thing is did in the future, and like revealing they answered the question of like how exactly did Ian start the leap? Why did they do this leap? Why did they do it the way they did? They
I
answered a
can't
lot
believe
of
that
questions about
they
Leaper
clipped
X.
through answering so much shit.
Yep. I respect that. If this show never got a season 2, which thankfully we know it already has,
Yeah.
but this would have been a satisfying ending.
And they left it at what I felt like was a sappily ambiguous perfect ending for the kind of NBC proper show it is.
Right. Yeah.
If they never got another episode, I would feel confident going, you know what, fuck it. Ben got home.
Yeah. So here's the Schrodinger's thing of it. If there was never another episode, Ben got home. Since we know there's gonna be, here's my bet. That's fucking Sam Beckett on that platform.
Yeah, you're probably right. That would be fucking amazing. Even if it's just for one episode, getting Bacala back for one episode would be amazing.
That's what I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be that they got Sam home, and now they got to get Ben home.
If it ends up being Martinez or something.
Oh, man, no. Martinez is dead.
I believe he is.
Time.
I don't think they're fucking around. I believe he is all-time dead.
Yeah.
Also, I was telling... So, this episode did a couple of things time travel-wise that I...
Fist fight through time.
Yeah, so one,
man,
fist fight through time.
Good.
The goal every time they leap is to be cool. Like, you just jumped into a body, but you're probably mid-sentence in a general store or something. You're like, fucking be cool. Don't immediately flip out. But when the machine starts throwing them back to every point they've ever come in contact, they just like it's this awesome like Matrix style like a janitor and a psychiatry doctor, or, you know, like both just stand up in the middle of mid-sentence in the middle of a room and go at it. And like the continued leap until like Ben looks down and realizes, oh shit, we're back on the military ship. I outrank you. Seize him.
Seize him.
Yep. Yeah.
But the way he actually dies of like, oh fuck, at some point y'all are gonna, you're in the Old West. Other people have guns and jump into fights like this.
Yep. And people that you've helped.
Right.
That was the thing. Like, but the thing I loved about this is why, and I know that there's different showrunners that do different things. Ronald D. Moore famously, J.J. Abrams, Damon Lindelof, who like they are the write myself into a corner and then write myself out kind of thing. But if you write a show and you know where you're going, that means that when you're filming your Old West sequence, you can be like, hey, let's go ahead and film some stuff that's going to be in episode 18. Let's go ahead and film. And so I have no doubt that they filmed every one of those scenes during the filming of that episode. So that they could drop it in.
And it really helped the speed at which that I could be like, fuck, I know where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of the more tightly constructed sci-fi shows I've ever seen.
I also love how that like they needed to do an Evil Leaper and a Leaper X to nod back to the other show, but I like how they did what the purpose of that is. They are not the prime timeline.
Yeah.
The prime timeline actually had Addison start the leaps.
Yeah.
The way it was supposed to go.
The prime timeline is the darkest timeline, which as we all know makes sense.
Yeah. They're an aberration trying to keep Addison alive because the main project that's trying to stop it is actually going to stop it all. I also love the idea of like, Leaper X is not the evil Leaper. He's a guy that in a darkest timeline future got in the machine knowing that they're going to destroy it when I leap and there will be no going back home. And my job is to get back to the to 2018 before you started like finished building the machine and blow it up. So there will so on either end we've got to destroy the machine cuz like their whole focus time travel is just terrible. I also
we gotta destroy time travel. Yeah.
The political end of once a time travel project exists, but you can't really tell what changed. Like day-to-day living, you don't know what changed. It would just become a scapegoat for everything you don't like.
Yeah. Yep.
That I had never thought of that, and that's hilarious.
Yeah. It's so dark. It's such a post-Trump thing, the notion that basically these guys had this amazing
Prince
technology.
Probably died because of Quantum Leap.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, if we just fix Quantum Leap, everything else will get better. It's such a dumb politician thing to think.
Right.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Also, I love Ian working across time with themselves.
That was cool too. Yeah. It's a little Doctor Who timey-wimey, but even the quantum entanglement thing, I was like, that's kind of cool. Like you need to be the same human being.
Jen getting sort of emotional was surprising. Like that was really good. Magic showing up.
The moment when it reveals that their security officer is the only one who thought of this is like, when we started the project, did you not all think up a secret password that only you knew,
So good.
so that if you're visited by your future self, you'd know a code?
Yeah.
Shit.
And they're like, no, like, oh, well, I did.
Yeah, that sounds pretty. Yeah. Now that you mention it,
Like that would have been smart.
Yeah, I love every one of these characters. I love the plots. I'm already annoyed that it's now waiting for season 2 because I'm ready for season 2 right now.
Oh, I know. I want more of it.
Yeah.
It was really.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really enjoyed this. Talk
The
about
longer
a great comeback of a show.
the longer it went, the more I liked it.
Mhm.
Like every episode, I liked it more, and they nailed their finale.
Well, as they
So
built
yeah,
confidence in me that they were actually going to not just
yeah,
tease these larger things, but do something with it.
yeah, and they did absolutely. Last week you mentioned Up Here, the
Mm-hmm.
musical thing. So I'd forgotten that was on there, and I went through and binged the whole thing. It's got who's our lead? It's Maybe.
Cisco.
It's May. Oh,
Yeah,
Cisco, right?
Mae
Cisco
Whitman and
Ramon.
and Cisco from Flash. Vibe.
So um, the songs are by somebody who did Tick Tick Boom. Like it's a
And
notable.
Book of Mormon, I believe.
Yeah. Um, I liked but did not love this.
Same.
I think after watching all of it, I was like, this is like methadone for my crazy ex-girlfriend heroin addiction, but it's not the same thing.
At least one song per episode is just a song. There's no
Yeah.
humor to it. There's no
Yeah.
anything, and it
Yeah.
frequently repeats a scene they already got across to me.
Yeah. I think
I just
it's
don't
less
love musicals that much.
it's less clever than I love musicals, but it's less clever than I want it to be.
Yeah, I
It's a little too sappy in some ways, and I wasn't quite buying their straw-crossed romance. I was like, I'm not sure these guys are good for each other, and you can't if you're hanging a story on it, I've got to think that they're great for each other, and I just don't.
I'm sorry. The second episode where she just leaves him at the
Oh,
cafe that I
yeah.
saw, I was like,
Yeah.
you've really turned her completely
They
more
they
unsympathetic than you've meant to.
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
each fuck each other over in some way where I'm like, no, you know what? You guys are just not a great couple.
Like maybe y'all should just go date yourselves for a minute.
Yeah.
Also, I was straight up mad at her of like, so you were mad that your life wasn't going anywhere because you tied yourself to a guy back home and you
Yeah.
got free, came to New York, and now you just sit miserable. I'm not saying that this doesn't really happen all the fucking time.
No, sure.
But I don't really want to see it in a show where I'm supposed to be believing in this person because
Yeah.
she's not learning a lesson. She's doing
Well, and then
she's
there's a
not
lot of
started
this.
writing. She's come to New York to go attach herself to a dude.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of this kind of thing of the like, um, they want to show us that these people are flawed and they're learning to get better, but they're getting better so goddamn slowly.
Oh man.
And I just, I like as bad as Rebecca and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was, like that was set up. She was dealing with real mental issues.
The show's
Here,
called My Crazy Girlfriend.
Right.
May Whitman, when she goes back to her hometown and doesn't tell her new boyfriend why she's going, I was like, you guys are you guys just can't talk to each other. You're fucked. Like they won't be honest with each other about what they're doing. And then he goes and sees an ex, and I'm like, you guys, it can have problems, but you guys are not communicating the way you should be, and it's probably unforgivable at this point.
Well, and it sounds like they're continuing on. I only watched the first two. It sounds like they're continuing on the bullshit of one of them being mad or both of them being hurt because
Yeah.
they did the same thing to each other.
Yeah, it's
Like she's so mad at him for lying about his office, and she's lied about writing
Yeah.
novels.
it's not that it's unrealistic. It's just kind of not fun to
It's
watch.
just sad.
It's I
Yeah.
just like I think maybe I want a little less realism in my romantic comedy musicals.
Right. Yeah.
So it was all right. If they do a season 2, I'll probably watch it. Although I don't love the cliffhanger they left it on.
Okay.
It's one of those things of like, man, I wish you guys hadn't done that. But I'll probably watch another one just because the music was good. But after Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which I loved, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which I love, Schmigadoon, which I like better than this.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like, man, there's a lot of good musical stuff out there right now. We're about to get another couple. So the bar is a little higher, and I didn't think this. I watched this episode Ghosts, which has
Oh
another
yeah, I'm
brings
one behind on that.
that was fun. Brings back some side characters. I love the universe they've built for that. Watched the latest episode of Grand Crew, which I'm enjoying. Caught up latest Top Chef. Watched another episode of Kunk on Earth, which I'm just sort of rationing myself on. This is the one where she sort of deals with technology and World War, and there's of course a Pump Up the Jam musical interlude.
In World War, where they stormed the beaches of the Normandy, not to the soundtrack because it was not invented at the time, but Technotronics pump up the jam.
That gets funnier every time I see it.
Oh,
So, yeah, I'm enjoying that. I'm kind of parceling it out to myself, but it's always funny. Finished Star Trek Deep Space Nine season 4, which is really, really good, and started on season 5. Really enjoying that. 26 episode seasons is not my jam, but man, there was maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine I wouldn't have watched in season 4. It's a pretty great season of TV.
Wow.
So I'm really digging that. That's part of what's keeping me in watching, like, because Picard's been really, really good, and so that keeps me going over to Deep Space Nine. Every time there's an episode of Picard, I watch Deep Space Nine. Watched A Knight's Tale with my son because he was up late and we had just gone to the Renaissance Festival, and I was like, "Oh, I think you'd like this." And indeed, that's a super fun movie to watch.
Yeah, it is.
And watched the latest episode of The Mandalorian, which I think, Nick, you're behind on.
Nope, I caught up. I finally watched
okay.
2.
I walked
Okay.
in the room for the what I would have sworn was a Jimmy Fallon bit involving Jack Black and Lizzo.
Jack Black and Lizzo.
And
I
then it
watched
was
it.
like, and
But
then
I'm
after
told
that,
was actually on
Mando,
a
yeah.
Star Wars Disney
And
Plus show.
so I have a story about that, and because a friend of mine on Facebook, I have to watch Mandalorian pretty quick because people will spoil things. And I was just doing my morning scroll, and somebody said, "Wow, that guest spot on Mandalorian." And I'm like, "Oh, right, I need to watch Mandalorian." And I was kind of annoyed. I was like, "I wish you hadn't said anything. It's been on for like 20 minutes, dude." But
Mhm.
it made me realize, oh, I need to get up and watch this. So I got up and I watched Mandalorian, and I was like, "Oh, the guest spot's Jack Black and Lizzo. That's cool." And so I wasn't ready
Yep.
when 5 minutes later, fucking Christopher Lloyd
Yeah.
shows up.
It's almost like they heard our TV dude's pitch of Christopher Lloyd playing Jake Lloyd, like switching him out.
Yep, it was great, and I thought this was a really fun episode. This was the a side interlude. This Mandalorian has felt a lot like an RPG campaign.
What a
And this
side
was-
quest of like
this
they're
was- yeah,
they're
this
here
was-
to do a whole other thing
This was
and
the
can't
episode.
do it
This was the
until
episode where the DM was not prepped for the main quest of the Mandalorians
Fuck.
yet, and he's like, "Fuck, I got this pre-written thing about robots going
the
bad."
one time you guys
weird-
don't want to go into the fucking robot bar. Also, I love that Star Wars cannot decide what droids are like. Like,
Nope, nope.
are droids service things and don't have rights, or are they fully fucking intelligent things that have autonomous feelings? And like,
I had such a thing with the droid. It's like they're doing basically a detective story. This again, it feels like the DM had a noir adventure given to him, and he's like, "Well, I can reskin this for Star Wars." And so it's
Sure.
like, yeah, you find a matchbook related. You find a spark pad to a droid
Spark
bar.
pad.
Spark pad to a droid bar, not a matchbook for a sleazy dive.
Well,
no,
no,
this
they
is a
don't-
spark pad for a droid bar.
No, they don't drink beer. They drink fluid.
Fluid.
That
They get
also, it doesn't get them drunk, but it reprograms some of their It's like they're
So-
fucking writing the show on the fly. Like it really.
So I started out like, I don't know about this, and then by the time they got to the droid bar and they revealed that this was how the nanites in the fluids was how they were programming the droids, I was like, fuck, I'm in. This is crazy. I love it.
It's just like that's how they're getting drunk or whatever, and like,
Yep.
and of course our Mando hates fucking droids, so he's just there like
Yep.
kicking droids, like, hey, could you not do that to the
He's-
reprogrammed
he's-
bottle droids?
He's stress testing the droids just like we're doing in the modern day. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But what if I made it think its name was Fred, and then Chad was a completely different person, and then threatened to kill Chad, and it gave it tokens, and so that if it failed to answer questions, like, okay, maybe stop giving the battle droids lessons in fucking morality.
I know everyone was horny for Andor. I know people wanted adult shows, but this, to me, this is exactly what Dave Filoni was doing with
Does
the
everyone want
animated
adult
shows.
shows from Star Wars? I
Oh
don't.
man, so many people do. I swear to you, everybody does.
This is the only show I'm watching, and even then, I'm like, I was behind on it for a week for a while, and was not really did not care that
And
much about it.
I love this show. This is exactly what I want out of Star Wars. I want it to be knowingly silly, but not so silly that it's fucking Jar Jar and Death Sticks.
But
I
also,
feel like
the last week's
Fab-
episode of the assault and to make a whole new city for the Mandalorians was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think Filoni and Favreau have the tone I want, which is it's fun, it's dumb, but it's knowingly dumb, but it's not goofy for children. Like kids can watch this, but it is not just for kids, and I think that that's the big difference. This is exactly the tone I want for Star Wars, and so I'm enjoying every episode.
So I was defeated in combat, and she defeated the thing that defeated me. So isn't the Darksaber hers? Yeah, thanks, Mando. Where
So
were you 5 minutes before when I challenged this dude to a fight when I didn't need to?
I called that, by the way, back on that episode. I'm like, I mentioned that to my friends. I'm like, wait a minute. He lost the Darksaber. She came and rescued him with the Darksaber.
Elder Wand
Isn't
rules.
isn't the Darksaber hers now? And they're like, oh no, she didn't take it from him in combat. And I'm like, I don't think that's right. And no, it just turns out they were saving that reveal for later on. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
good. I was right. That's how that works.
Good thing the Mandalorians are pretty arbitrary and vague on their rule set anyway.
Well, yeah, because all you gotta do is tell them you did a thing. They're like, yeah, I bathed them with
Yeah.
the Mandalore. Sure.
I guess the concept of lying has never really. Because then again, couldn't she have just said, "Oh yeah, I beat him in combat"?
I was like, you didn't see it, but I beat him. He was in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what? Like it's so much of this is like, why is so much of Mandalorian culture based on the honor system?
I mean, it's because it's a childish code. It is. It just is.
This is the way.
It's-
I have spoken.
By the way, I love that I have spoken was not just that guy's affectation, but that is how you end a conversation in Ugnaught. That little bit made me so happy. I was like,
I've
that's great.
spoken.
I have spoken. Yeah. Yeah, give me some catchphrases. Give me some aliens and droids. I'm all about it. I love this.
Yeah, the two catchphrases are very child. If you change them to childish force, like, no, this is the way we play. This is the way.
Yes.
I have spoken.
And then I watched Last Week Tonight, which had a thing about solitary confinement, which was, as always, horrifying. And then the most glorious thing ever. Y'all know that Mickey Mouse is about to go into public domain, or the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse is about to go into public domain.
Yeah, much to Disney's chagrin.
John Oliver, I think he's just making. I don't know. I feel like he's trying to get fired at this point because this is 7 full months before Mickey goes into public domain. He had a Mickey Mouse cartoon come on and say that that Epstein didn't commit suicide. And ask about the Scientology's wife. He's like, catchphrase. And then he had a full-on guy in a mask and a Mickey Mouse costume come out and dance and ask about just say that Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide. And I'm like, and he's basically he out now dared Disney to sue him.
Well, as long as he didn't call it Steamboat Willie, if it's a parody, like he didn't call it Steamboat Willie, did he?
And he called him Mickey Mouse.
Oh, that's not good.
He literally called
That's
it
even
Mickey
worse.
Mouse.
They don't have they haven't lost the rights to Mickey Mouse at all. Like,
well, they will. They're going to lose the right to that version of Mickey Mouse.
That version, like Steamboat Willie, is the version they're going to lose to, but Mickey Mouse is like just something they still have very much a fucking.
Yep. I don't know if he just got up one morning and decided let's make Warner Brothers and Disney's lawyers fight, but it's glorious and I'm amazed by it.
Let them fight.
And that is my that's the appetizers for the week.
Dude, I know he's picked fights with bigger people, but I would not pick that fight with Disney.
I wouldn't have either, but like I say, I swear to God, he's trying to get fired.
When you hear that whistle out in the streets, you're gonna think it's a cop on the beat, but don't be thinking about police protection, cause this is one cop with a bad connection. When he shows up, he's supposed to protect ya. The maniac cop is out to get ya. He's an anti-vigilante and they can't convict him, so watch out, Jack, cause you're the next victim.
Don't hang around. If you see him coming, just pick up your feet and commit to running. And don't waste time dialing 911. Forget karate and forget your gun. Don't play hero, don't try to be brave. This dude's gonna turn you to an early grave. He's out for vengeance and he can't be stopped. That's why they call him the Maniac Cop.
All right, just a reminder, you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes, throwing us a fucking episode. In exchange, we get to keep our streaming services, pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. All right, let's have our main course. Let's talk about Apple Plus's Big Door Prize, which I believe if you could tag shows, like put tags on them, I would put the tags weird and sad.
Which is Apple's brand.
How would you differentiate it from any other Apple show then?
Like, yeah, so this is Hello Yesterday. Like,
Yeah,
tomorrow or whatever.
The RogerEbert.com review I saw called it a hapless mess.
I don't understand. Apple has like things like Ted Lasso and Shrinking, which are, sad but funny.
Right.
So like they needed tags for these. So if I see the one that's just weird and sad, I can know not to watch it.
Right.
Because
Whimsically morose.
this is so odd.
I grew to hate this.
No, Nick and I. So I didn't. Man, I wasn't really looking forward to the show. We watched the commercial for it, and both of us went, "Huh,
No,
okay."
they're not going to deliver on that.
I was like,
premise-
but the commercial, I was like, okay, I don't believe you that you're going to deliver on it, but that looks better than I thought it was going to look.
Sure.
And then we watched the first episode, and we're like, holy shit, they're a really charming couple together. Like Chris O'Dowd,
Him driving his scooter while listening to Little John.
Oh my god, like
Chris
that.
O'Dowd,
I was like,
Chris O'Dowd is doing so much heavy lifting for this show.
yeah, and I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
this might actually be the Pushing Daisy, Dead Like Me, like if it's going to be that, this will be fun. But I get the feeling like it's going to go up its own ass.
And it does.
Oh, but man, they don't know
Yes.
where, like your colon's a one-way shot, and they still don't know where they're going.
How
This
like
is-
they don't. What the fuck is going on in this show, guys?
This, by the way, it also has Pug, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
This
Wasting
show,
him so far.
This is a great idea for a Twilight Zone episode.
Mm-hmm.
It is not an idea for a 10
this is a
episode
Twilight
show.
episode. Like it's a same exact thing with all the like a bunch of movies we watch and shows we watch of like, well, this is a good idea for an episode of the Twilight Zone, but you can't make a whole fucking show around this. My
Right,
guy.
you shouldn't even make an
Yeah.
hour and a half movie out of this. It should
Yeah.
be an hour long. But the
Yeah.
fact that it's going to be multiple.
Well, okay, so the premise is this Morpho machine gives people cards that unlocks their like it says what their true potential would have been.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
not your future, what you could have been at your truest.
Like the kid clarifies, not your destiny, your potential.
right.
Yeah.
The kid that first gets it gets hero, and he gets involved into a thing where he calls the cops later to help someone out in an accident, and they all start
Yeah.
calling him a hero, even though like he himself is like, I barely
Like, I
did
didn't do
anything.
That's
anything.
What
not.
do you-
This
Yeah.
just feels like imposter syndrome. Please
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. And then of course, because the show's written weird, because it's based on a book, they keep dropping information at fucked up times. So like in the third episode, we finally get more details as to what tragic loss happened exactly that fucked the daughter up
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that kid up and the whole like
That
what is
kid-
going on with this? And they casually dropped it like, oh, he had an identical twin brother,
that
and
was dating the
she
girl.
is
Yeah.
like their daughter was dating the twin, and apparently cheating on him with the brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he
I'm
died
like,
in a
that's
car
just
accident.
dropped. Like, I mean, like,
Yep. Yep.
So he's dealing with that of people wanting him to be his brother, and then suddenly they start to fucking volunteer him for shit. Like
Yeah.
because the whole town is so high on this goddamn these cards, and it was like, oh, but that one kid that said like, oh, I don't want to do the dunk or whatever, and it's like, well, it's
Yeah.
what Kaz, what was his name?
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
It's what your brother would have
Colton
wanted.
with a K.
I would have beat that kid to within an inch of his life.
Right.
Like-
when he turned around, it's like, yeah, it's what your dead brother would have.
Don't
like,
you fucking tell me what my brother would have
No.
wanted.
Also, like, one kid in the entire town mentions,
That
well,
this
it
is a
collects your
scam.
social security number and your
Oh my
fingerprints.
god!
How
I
is this not
cannot
a
believe.
And somebody's like, oh man, the Johnson's General Store didn't even have Wi-Fi. Yeah, the machine could have that just built in.
No one
Yeah.
knows where it's from. No one knows the company.
Yeah.
The level of uncuriosity the town has
Yeah.
is
While being obsessed with it is infuriating.
frankly they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, of everyone wanting to believe the good parts about the machine and not
Yeah.
being interested, curious at all about the origins or how it works or whatever.
It gives it a willful fairy tale, like not a fairy
Yeah.
tale. It gives it a willful fable.
Yes.
Like, and
Yeah.
I mean the distinction in that you are teaching me a lesson, and I'm not entirely sure I want to sit through children's story hour for this long for your what is
Yeah.
assuredly going to be a magnanimous
I grew up
thing about life paths.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town, salt of the earth type people. You know, morons.
Morons.
And even they wouldn't give their
Where-
social security number to a random fuck off machine in a gas station.
Where the fuck is the? I mean, I know
in a
we've
Kurt's
seen
convenience store.
we've seen a priest, but like, where's the second church? And no town has a church, like one.
No, where's the
single
other
church.
pastor?
Where's the other pastor?
parish?
And where's the fucking church protest for this?
Yeah,
I,
where's the
um,
How is
devil
I just
signs?
don't understand. Like, we see one guy try to pry at it with a screwdriver, but I mean,
Yeah.
we got to the end of the third episode, and we're like, no one in this town cares about it except him. And I feel like we're watching 3 episodes in a row of people do the same thing. They just whine about it or
Yeah.
love it, but they
Yeah.
don't do anything.
About it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and he even can't be sympathetic because all he does is bitch about the wrong things about it.
Yeah, I
Like,
think you guys have nailed it. I think what it is they're trying to do a fable, they're trying to do a fairy tale, they're trying to do a thing of the Morpho Machine. It's a it's the MacGuffin. You don't have to worry about. Don't Nobody's going to worry about what the MacGuffin is. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, don't make it a fucking machine. Because immediately I start
make it
wondering
straight
where
up
it's coming
magic.
from.
Right.
Yeah, make it magic. Like
Everybody just wakes up with a card under their pillow one morning.
I have to wonder. Yes, exactly. I have to wonder if this is better as a book. There are some things that just
would
don't
have to
adapt
imagine.
well. And I wonder if this is one of those things where like the magical realism and all of it works really well.
It makes me not want to read it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to believe the book is better because I don't feel like anyone would watch this show and go, we should move this to another medium. It's amazing.
This is like a New York Times. The guy's won numerous prizes for writing for this and his previous novel. But yeah, this is a miss. A
The
big
best,
miss.
the
It
best
just
it
feels-
gets is that the show does feel like you should be on the kid's side because the town is not letting him grieve the way,
Yeah.
because this
Right.
machine is really fucking his life up as far as, dude, I have actual shit going on. I know that
Yeah.
you like wanted to be a biker when you were a kid or whatever.
Mhm.
When he
My identical brother died.
Yeah, when he just unloads on the school nurse
Yeah.
or
And then
whoever
the-
that is.
And then the school nurse says, I know exactly how you're feeling.
Yeah.
That can't possibly be true, but okay.
right. Yeah.
I feel like an imposter too. Well, that was one of the things I said.
Yeah. And it seemed like across the 3 episodes, like the wife's potential is infuriating and she just keeps getting more and more
Yes.
entitled and shittier as she leans into the
Mhm.
royalty thing.
She becomes a little eccentric to a straight up. I swear
Yeah.
to God, I
Yeah.
hate her by the end of the 3rd episode when
Yep.
she tries to cheerlead and make it about her for
Yep.
his jump, and I was like,
Yep.
"Fuck you! You can go
Yeah.
straight to hell."
I think that they think they've done more invest in the
Yes.
character
So
in the
there's-
first episode.
There's two moments.
Yeah, there's 2 scenes that like Nick and I both like looked at each other and went,
They think they sold
this
that.
show thinks that scene did something. When she storms into her mom's store
Yeah.
and takes her stuff back, only she doesn't remove, she comes in there and says, you can't sell my stuff anymore. She doesn't remove her products.
Stuff. She takes
She
3
takes-
random pillows.
And
Yeah.
then spends half that interaction shitting on another woman's stuff and then having to walk it back.
And then apologize, and then so the interaction with her mom doesn't sell. Like
But-
what?
But she strides
But
out
that's how
like
the
head
episode-
held high.
That's
and
how the episode ends. So you're like, oh, the show thinks that was a big moment.
Yeah.
And that
that
didn't.
was not a big moment.
Also, her.
And then the same thing with the cheerleading thing of like the show thinks that when she looks at Chris O'Dowd and is like, yeah, I'm really feeling myself. Like that, like we're supposed to take this as a
good thing.
thing.
and I was like,
I'm
no, that's a douchey thing to say.
yeah, and you just did a pretty douchey thing.
Yeah.
People say that about douchebags, right? Like, oh yeah, that guy, he was really feeling himself. That's what people say about bad people, like selfish
Yeah.
people. And her card is royalty or whatever, and it's so vague and weird. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? And her argument to her to Chris O'Dowd is like, well, I guess too bad you couldn't marry into royalty. Oh, it's kind of rude that you think I have to marry into royalty.
There's
And I wanted to stop the show and slap her in the face of like, how do you think royalty works?
there is no non-entitled way to be royalty.
Yeah.
You're either born into it or you're married into it. Are you fucking?
You can kill enough people.
Or I guess if you can kill enough people so that no one can prove you weren't king all along.
Right. But like otherwise I was like, I mean, okay, maybe not marry in, but born in, like, so it's either your dad or your husband, but like, or how do you,
It turns
what
her.
good way do you think people become royalty?
It turns her into entitled. She feels
Yeah.
like I shouldn't have to explain myself for anything that I want. I should be given all the respect and consideration automatically.
Also the moment where he sits down to talk to the priest in the bar, and I was like, okay, buddy, he's not at work right now. Also, you need a doctor, not a priest. Also, I don't think we did anything with the blue dots for another episode.
Oh yeah.
What?
What
Yeah.
the fuck was that? What is that?
But when he sits down and the guy, the priest says the thing about Kierkegaard and like anxiety and the apple and stuff, like Nick and I were like, I had to pause it, and I was like,
Yeah.
is it just me, or is he taking the exact opposite? Like the Morpho Machine isn't giving people
Realizing that there was a choice,
like
it's telling you, oh,
it's taking away a choice.
You're the guy that never would have eaten the apple would be the what the Morpho Machine is giving
Right.
you. It's
Like,
giving you the
Hey
you
Adam,
could have
are
never-
you anxious? Let me give you a card that says you'll
you'll never
not
eat
an
the
apple eater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Like this is
Like, the show
this is
is
a
fucking
miracle
up its
taking away
metaphor.
faith. I was like,
like not only is it fucking up its
am I
scenes,
confused or
even
are you
its
confused?
symbolism is like weird. And
Yeah.
the father getting his father card at the end of it, and they play it. Everyone getting their card, they play it cute every time. There's no point where they show you immediately. They always play it cute. I'm like, please stop this.
Yeah, like they're slowly like the camera's slowly moving in on the priest, and I'm like, and they're gonna show his nope. We're gonna go outside. And he's gonna cry for like show the goddamn card.
Yeah, you know, if I'm making this show the way that they're making this show, if I'm gonna try and do it, I show everybody's card in the first episode,
Right?
Yes.
and then go from there.
Make that the mystery of like, why did their card say that?
Yeah.
That's so weird. One
Yeah,
card says
it's-
liar. That's kind of interesting.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
And then I mean, you could even follow each town person around as a vignette and like start the episode with the big blue, like with a full screen blue title card.
Well,
Yeah.
at least have the
Liar.
At least
Follow
have the
that
town
kid.
slowly come to realize, like with events that happen, like, oh shit, this thing might be for real. Except for everyone immediately is just accepts it or rejects it.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
there is no journey for anyone. And then why is it that Chris O'Dowd, I should be on his side because his wife is acting like a crazy bitch and has plenty of stuff he should be complaining about. But what does he complain about? Why did you order hot wings? We always order garlic and honey wing.
yeah.
Motherfucker, what is your goddamn problem?
I gotta say, you know how networks, the streaming networks all have sort of identities, and it is weird to me that Apple's identity is the best shows and the worst shows. Like, I don't understand how you do both. I don't know.
And the worst for the wrong reasons because
Yeah.
like
No, their misfires are just sad.
yeah, because they're all expensive looking. They're
Oh
all
my
good
God.
cast, but yeah, what a mess.
Yeah.
this became the Moon real estate show pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
which
this
was
turned into
weird.
Hello Tomorrow by the second episode.
I would watch all the rest of Hello Tomorrow before I
Oh,
watched another episode
yeah.
of Big Door Prize.
No, Nick was like, I don't know if it's better or worse if this is infuriatingly bad. Like, there's bad shows that we're just like,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about that. I'm not watching more of it.
Yeah,
And then there's this of like, damn you.
yeah,
You suck, but what, just tell me how bad you're going to end it. Just say it to me.
yeah.
Well, it's like watching someone play a sport they don't know how to play and think they're winning.
Yeah,
Like
yes,
that's infuriating.
Right.
Yeah,
Aha, 10 points. That's not how basketball works. You can only score 2 at a time. 3 at most, and that's like outside of like you're just not, the math is not adding up.
That's 5 points. I shot it.
The law is evil and justice is blind, but this cop's justice is one of a kind. He's homicidal and maladjusted, but when he busts in, your ass is busted. You won't get a ticket or pay your fine. Your mind is what we dealing with Frankenstein. He's big and ugly with a busted jaw. You know he's the wrong arm of the law.
You better stay away from this man in blue. And don't call a cop, cause he'll snuff him too. They killed him once, but he came back. He's the mama maniac. So when you're out on the streets and you hear that sound, it probably means that Cordell's around. He's out for vengeance and he can't be stopped. That's why they call him the maniac.
The maniac.
All right, let's jump over and talk about The Power on Prime, which I didn't watch, largely because
I'm sorry, who has the power? Which streaming service?
the Prime, Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yes. Prestige, man.
Yes.
So-
but less. I saw ads for this weekend when I went and saw it in the theater, and I was like, oh, interesting premise. I guess it was a novel, and
Yes.
good cast.
Unlike Big Door, so the premise of it is that all teen girls develop electrical powers. There you go. Simple
Sure.
premise.
Yeah.
Simple premise, right? Shouldn't take that long to get into it. Just, all girls are going to get electrical powers. There won't be other powers. There's no reason to tease it. It's electrical powers. That's it. Teen girls.
Yep.
Unlike Big
Straightforward.
Door Prize, they let the novelist write the show.
It's probably not a good idea.
And I feel like the problems that are happening are owed to that. So I watched the first episode of it. We'll get to why that is. Seems like I shouldn't have to mention that, but we'll get to it in a minute.
Mhm.
And it's just boring as shit. Like there's one or two cool scenes. There's a bunch of very infuriating, like very novel feeling, an internal monologue in your head, darling. You're gonna have the power come through your body. You can feel it. And
That
like
was pretty weird.
fucking and just one of those like, okay, we're gonna do that then. All right.
And no one else has a fucking ancient.
Nobody else
ancestor
has an
talking
ancient
to them.
voice. It's not
I
the
don't-
girl. It's not the person who's hearing its voice. It's like a grandmother. It's like an epigenetic thing or something. Anyway, we never really get to Tony Collette. We don't
John
get to
Leguizamo.
Leguizamo at all. We don't get to Josh Charles at all in the first episode. They're all in this show apparently.
They're in the trailer, yeah.
You don't see them in the first episode really.
Oh my god.
You follow around these kids, all of whom are literally just like sparking things, and like one of them accidentally sets a fire. Until the very end of the episode, you have a couple of like, oh, you have electrical power, which again, it's a very simple premise. Like you could have got there a lot.
Kind of like if the premise was there's only one man in the entire world.
Right. You just fucking start. This felt very Why the Last Man in all the ways that it was
Yeah.
going wrong.
Yeah.
Also, I know that they are never, I haven't read the book, but I can almost bet that the show is not going to deal with any
Trans, non-binary,
anything
like
like
that.
any issues like that. But like all teen girls are going to get electrical powers, but I'm not counting on this show to get into what that might mean. It is purely about female empowerment, which it is a cool premise, and it kind of makes me want to read the book, except that the novel writer wrote this show, and I feel like the pacing's so fucking slow. So that's how I felt about it. Nick screwed up. He started on episode 2, not realizing that we were watching on my Prime account.
Yeah, so I actually, like, Les, I pressed play on episode 1, but you had a couple seconds left on it, so it auto-played, and I didn't realize that. So it starts off with Toni Collette and John Leguizamo being really cute together in a fucking scene.
They are a holy shit cute couple.
And
oh my god.
Okay.
It doesn't show the spark, it just shows a girl standing next to a microwave that's exploded. And I'm like, ooh, what a great intrigue. Like, it doesn't show the electrical powers right away. I can't tell you how I didn't notice it was in the first episode until it was done.
I woke up so like I come in later, and Nick's like, Les, so I thought the power had a really great first episode, and then I realized that I started in the second episode.
That can't be good.
That can't be good.
I've had that before, of where I've watched the second episode on accident before and some other stuff, but I've always had a feeling of like, oh, that was kind of weird.
I should know that person, right?
I can't tell you how, not at one point during the second episode did I think it was not the first. That
you can literally ditch the pilot of this 8 or 10 episode tops series.
Yeah, I started to watch the first episode afterwards, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna I'm not gonna watch this anymore. This is ruining all the stuff I liked in the first episode.
So one of those 2 deaths that I talked about, he was like, "Oh, so wait, did they just show the scene that's the YouTube video that everyone's watching in the next episode?" And I was like, "I don't know, I didn't watch episode 2 because 1 sucked." But that's the kill, and so he cuts into episode 2, and I was like, "Yep, that's the scene."
Well, I thought it was so smart. Like I realized all these smart decisions are not smart decisions; they're mistakes.
It's like, way to kick a fucking show in gear. This is great.
I was like, oh my god, everyone's story is in medias res. They're all starting from an interesting point of like Toni Collette's trying to like manage all the arsonists and stuff, and like, okay, cool. And then all the other like the English brat, like that is wants to be part of her dad's gang, has already had her mom die, and was like, oh cool, and then a lot of them, they do flashbacks. So I just thought the flashbacks were part of the show of like, okay, so the flashbacks are an excuse to like start off right away. Oh man, I'm totally into this. And everyone gets like, one of the badass chick gets powers of like, hey dad, everyone else has these electrical powers. I don't think they have them like me though, and she rips apart a fucking electrical tower.
Yeah, the one cool storyline going on is Eddie Marsan from all of Guy Ritchie movies, playing some kind of mob boss in London that owns some spas and like tanning salon type shit too, and his illegitimate daughter, who really wants to, like, dad loves her. She's clearly the kid that's most like dad, but she's not from the family proper, so she can't really, he invites her to a wedding for one of his other kids because she knows all her half siblings, but she has to sit at like by the restrooms basically, like she can't be up with the family. But her story and her wanting to be a mobster, like she wants to work for her dad, and he very rightly is like, you are a wild card. No, I mean, you're a lot like me, but also it took me a few years to get that under control. You need to get that under control, and then you can work for me. Well, she ends up developing, like, everybody else has a spark. She can throw fucking force lightning. Like, she's on another level, and
immediately on another level than everyone else.
It seems to be the difference in impulse control and how easily you can unlock rage. Like how easily you can tap into being, like the,
which I'm sure they'll bring
her
into
secret cap.
I'm always angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the coolest thing in it. I saw her do like 2 pretty cool things, one of which was coupled with the saddest fucking thing in the first episode.
They do one of the best relationship scenes between a long-standing couple. John
Hmm.
Leguizamo has like knows Toni Collette's had a bad day. Like, hey, let's talk about it, and talks about it, talks it through, like, commiserates with her about it, like, oh man, that fucking dick, and like says all the right things, and then on top of that, he says, you know what, you deserve to be angry here, and he goes and he grabs a wedding present from from his crazy mom that she hates.
He hands her this little sculpture, like, hang on, honey. And he goes to the cabinet and like, and just while she's like, I just don't know what to do with the, and hands like, here. She's like, is this that stupid ceramic duck your mom gave
like
us?
pheasant or whatever, like, and
He's like, break it.
break it. So any guys that are listening that are in, like, you know, relationships, man, save that object, save that for a rainy day. He bought himself some, like,
I had never seen that before, but like he goes, it's not out. It's clearly like in a cabinet underneath something.
No, she obviously hates it.
Right.
She's hated it for
like,
20 years.
She stands up and like throws it to the floor and it smashes. She goes, oh, that felt real.
They
really
definitely fucked after that. They fucked so hard.
But even their whole day, like their relationship is almost a reason to put up with
it
the
has
show.
nothing to do with the powers almost.
No, nothing to do with the rest
She's just
of it.
managing it.
But like the morning that, I mean, she is the mayor of Seattle, I think.
Yeah.
And so like in the morning they wake up, it's their anniversary, but clearly she's got like shit to go deal with.
She's one of the only ones that puts the brainwave together that these arsons and assaults might be mixed in with the power, like these
crazy
reports.
YouTube videos that are coming up of girls electrocuting shit. Yeah. Like everybody else is like, that's a stupid YouTube video. She's like, no, but I think it's the same thing. She's the only one putting together.
She's the girl from like Troll that is like, okay, I guess I'll be the asshole here, but those are not fish. Those are footprints.
That's a troll footprint, right?
Those are giant footprints. I don't know what else to tell you.
But like the first scene at the start, I see why Nick was like, I watched a different show than you.
Yeah,
the
man.
opening scene of episode 2 is her and like Leguizamo with like him and they've just woke up. She's already up and dressed and heading out the door, and he's just woke up. And she's like, I'm sorry, I've got a really full day if we're gonna have our anniversary dinner.
Then I want to come back. We're
they
gonna talk
have
about
one of the cutest, most believable. You are both spectacular actors with good chemistry, and it is one of the cutest. Like, you know, I promise you tonight we are going to drink so much wine, and we're
going to talk about real things. We're not going to talk about kid things at all. Oh yeah.
John Leguizamo's like, I will manscape.
Like, and then Toni Collette is like,
cute.
And then we are gonna fuck.
Like they're adorable together. The rest of the show is just slow as fuck.
Yeah, well, also there's like a ex-gymnast that also doesn't seem to have powers. Don't know what her storyline is doing there. The second episode, I thought it was the ending of the first episode, ends with a plane crash because a chick's lightning powers go off in the plane, fucking takes out everything, and the plane just drops like a stone.
I will. So they honestly they should have at least ended the first episode with that fucking like with a girl standing there
That's a great ender.
Having sparks coming off her hands, and then behind her see a plane go down or something.
Because all the other girls are having fun with their lightning powers, and what a great way to show consequence of like, oh shit, this is serious.
The one thing that kind of this is definitely a show about female empowerment. Like Colette is already having a hard time as mayor of Seattle just because she's constantly like, well, don't get your panties in it. Other Josh Charles is senator or state senator or something like that.
Yeah, he's senator.
He's trying to be. You can't quite tell if he's meaning to be a dick or not, and then he says something at the end. It's like, oh man, misogyny's this is just what y'all deal with. Like if she raises her voice, she's hysterical. If she, and it's very much a story about if girls just somehow got an immediate power, like
it's a game changer.
The power, like literally the power dynamic change.
Right.
But there, it does crack me up. So only teen girls get this electrical power, right? Toni Collette is not developing electrical power.
No.
So in this female empowerment show, you absolutely know that if you move to a storyline where the woman is above a certain age, there will not be any powers element or anything to this storyline. It will not connect to the larger power storyline, which seems like a weird
well, that's where it feels like
a weird story lesson of like, okay, we're going to do a thing about girls empowerment.
That's where it feels like a young.
Only teen and young adult girls.
This is where it feels like
they're older than a certain point. You don't need to pay attention.
young adult novel. That's where it feels like a YA thing. I don't know if this was a YA novel.
I was sitting back from it going, this isn't a YA novel now. This is a expensive show on Amazon Prime, and I'm realizing that like the ex gymnast is too old to have powers.
Yeah, not really sure what she's doing, but I'm assuming she's gonna start a gang in Russia or no Chechnya. What the fuck is she?
I don't know where she is, but yeah.
Or I bet you her sister. Something has to do with her sister. Her sister's younger than her, right?
Who the fuck knows?
Anyway, Toni Collette's daughter, I thought was a stepdaughter, but then they said that it's her 20th anniversary, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me do some math here.
That kid's like 15.
That kid's your daughter. That's your actual daughter.
She definitely acts like a stepdaughter.
Like, why is she acting so shitty? Like,
she
gives off a lot of "you're not my real mom" energy, even though she is your real mom. She's got to be your real mom, or there's a way more interesting story going on that we haven't hit.
Episode 2 was better than episode 1. I would say if you're going to watch it, just start at 2. You will not miss a thing.
As someone who has gone back and watched part of episode 1, you're actually gonna really detract yourself if you watch episode 1 at all.
Just skip it.
After it started to ruin 2 things I liked about episode 2, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna watch episode 3. It's so strange, guys. I can't tell you how shocked I was to see episode 3 starting, and I was like, what the fuck? I went back and to realize I had watched episode 2 felt so...
And it genuinely feels like the novel writer was unable to, like, well, no, we've got to show that. It's so important to the internal character of so-and-so. Like,
it can't be.
There should have been, like, a TV showrunner or a writer's room going, no, move it along.
I can tell you, provably, it's factual. It's not. I didn't feel... I was enjoying myself.
Yeah, episode 1 feels like just kind of fucking around in people's heads for 50 minutes. Like for 50 pages before you really get into the book.
Yeah. Leguizamo also has a great interaction with, he's a doctor.
Can't stress enough, he's not in the first episode.
He's a doctor, and he's dealing with a girl that's fucking medicated to the gills, and she still seems angry. And she's showing like, well, and he's a doctor, he knows like, those can only be from electrical burns. Like, that's not no amount of like, no matter, you've got her on a lot of meds and a lot of different meds, but no combination could cause that. Has she hurt herself? She's been in an accident, like, and the idea of the electricity might be burning out her meds, like, and not helping her. Like, the power might be, what is keeping her meds from taking effect. Yeah, and just the immediacy of like stuff like that, and like Les, you said, it should immediately go to, okay, cool, how like. It shouldn't be weaponized. It should be like, cool, they should run power plants and run green energy.
Just change the world. Like,
yeah, and just it will almost be seen as a revolutionary good thing immediately.
It could be. I hope that's where they go with it. I don't want to.
You know what?
I don't want to naively think, because it's not boys.
Legend of Korra season 2, where they realized that firebenders can make lightning, and they just power up power plants. That's the job they do.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know, man. Maybe the show is going there. If you want to see where the show goes, though, I really just skip it.
Not only skip it, pretend it does not exist.
I'm living in that 21st century, doing something mean to it. Do it better than anybody you ever seen. Do it, springs from the haters, got a nice ring to it. I guess every superhero need his theme music. No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking, I just count the hours. Stop tripping, I'm tripping off the power.
Let's flip over and talk about the other show this week, side dishes. That is Unstable, which is on Netflix and is Rob Lowe's new ensemble show.
Mm-hmm. With his real son.
With his real son, yeah. I texted you guys while I was watching this, and I was like, this show is criminally unfunny. And I was like, my pitch for this is what if Better Off Ted sucked?
It definitely reminds me of Better Off Ted, and like immediately made me want another season.
It's not as good as Better Off Ted, but I liked it, even if just for what's her name from
the sister
Fleabag.
from Fleabag,
her as the CFO, as the counterbalance to like fucking this nuts. Like, why don't people get my sense of humor?
She's doing her best, but this script sucks, guys. Nothing about this is funny.
I know. I enjoyed it. A lot of the jokes hit for me.
Really,
yeah.
God,
when the first episode ends where he has a fucking person kidnapped in his basement, I thought that was pretty funny.
When they just do the premise of the patient and then move on.
Yeah, I guess part of this may be Rob Lowe is good in ensembles, but whenever you center a show on Rob Lowe, which is the only thing Rob Lowe wants, I remind myself that Rob Lowe is not the guy who should be centered on a show. Rob Lowe is a spice. He is not a main dish. And he thinks he's a main dish.
They need to sideline him to a Chris Traeger type role. Like, he can still be the eccentric at the head of the company, but he needs to be locked in his office for most of each episode.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, is that Rob Lowe, and honestly his son as well, I don't like either of them as characters, and they are the majority of the show.
See, I like the son, and I like the Lim and
their female.
I like their I like their labs, their lab assistants. I'm forgetting the other guy's name.
I don't want to be disrespectful to Flutus, but your job is dumb. Like, and if you get and if you're so okay with just ditching it and just spending more time with your dad, you obviously didn't care about it either.
Right, you've got time on your hands.
Both of them I like both of them, and if the show was about them, I would like it a lot more. But it's so much about Rob Lowe's Ellis Dragon, the crazy CEO, and his son, and I don't like either of them. I don't care about either of them.
I like the war. I like the lab techs in their war with the pistachios.
Yeah, I like the lab techs. I like the guy, the whatever lower level
Malcolm,
that they put in charge of them. Yeah. Malcolm, that is also upset. Like I like the ensemble, and I hope that this. I mean, we've watched 2.
Yeah, I watched.
Like, I enjoyed the first. I enjoyed the first 2 enough to keep watching it, and I'm hoping that it does kind of a Parks and Rec of recognizing that I feel like they've got a really good ensemble, and they're paying too much attention to Lowe.
The thing is, Lowe and his son are the executive producers on this, and I think that's eventually. And I think that's eventually what's going to kill it. I think that's the problem. I honestly think that Rob Lowe, which is the reason the show got picked up, is also the problem with the show.
Is also probably and he is the weakest in the ensemble for me. He's the one I get his thing. Okay, you miss your wife. I get you're the catalyst that sets the show in motion, but you aren't the funniest place to watch. Like, you aren't the funniest vantage point to watch this show from.
Well, there's honestly there's a little too much to like, and I did like it, but you need him bouncing off of somebody else, and there's a couple times where he's just by himself, which is really weird.
Yeah, like, that's weird, and I feel like I don't know how long this show's going to run. It is a Netflix show, right? So like, I don't know how I didn't even look how many episodes
got a season 2. It got renewed for season 2.
Because it feels like one of those. If this were just on network TV, I would say that, like, oh, this is a pilot thing because you sold a show centered around Rob Lowe, and so you're just gonna show him a shitload in the pilot, and then like by the end of season 1, it's like, how much Rob Lowe is gonna be on this show?
Yeah.
It like I would wonder if this is like a celebrity deal of like, it's a spinoff, so we're gonna have the main Friends cast show up in the first couple of episodes. But being the Netflix show, I this may be the actual structure of it because they did it all at once, I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't watch past episode 2, and I don't think I'm going to. Or did I watch 3 episodes? I don't remember.
Could have just been the rush. It could also have been the rough, like, main dishes we had to, like, fucking Door Prize.
That's true. That's true. We watched this after getting so mad at Door Prize we didn't watch Up 4. and like, honestly, anything would have been like brackish water would have been a better taste in my mouth.
Yeah. I definitely was not impressed with this. It's not the worst thing I saw this week, considering I also watched more Big Door Prize. But I definitely was like, oh, I don't need any more of this.
We'll watch the first episode of The Power and see if it's worse than Big Door Prize for you.
It probably isn't.
No, Randy, just watch the second one. Like, have fun.
I'm not going to watch any of The Power. All right.
I'm just imagining like no, watch the pilot. Skip the pilot. They're terrible.
What if I just don't do any? Like, I don't pick either door. Wait, you can't do like what's?
Can they do that?
I don't know. No one's ever done it before.
All right, let's have our dessert, and let's start off by talking about the 6th episode of Party Down Season 3, which for some reason, passing understanding, is not a series finale.
Wow, what a bold swing.
As far as anyone in any kind of check writing department knows, this is the
Hey,
series finale.
Yeah.
Jane
think.
Litch and Adam Scott have other shit going on.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I get that they love making this show.
Inside Job just got canceled, but I'm sure Lizzie Kaplan has other shit lined up.
Yeah. This is weird. So I enjoyed it. It was a fun episode. Although honestly, we talked about this last week of like Henry has nothing going here. His kids, he doesn't talk to his kids.
I do not believe this bullshit about the
Tactical.
kids.
It has an actual mistake in it,
Yeah,
and the
what
mistake
the
is
fuck?
that if they wanted to sell us on this teaching thing for him, they needed to show him teaching.
No,
Yeah,
we
You
don't see
realize
the
this
kids for
episode-
several episodes, and the first time we meet him, he's like, "God, they're haunting me. What
Like,
the
yeah,
fuck?"
go
It
get
seems
away.
like he hates them.
They haven't been in the episodes enough for them to like, oh, we'd really miss you,
Yeah,
Teach.
yeah.
Really?
I
I was-
believe he's a theater nerd that doesn't want to do a spandex series, but I
Yeah.
don't believe that
But
he
even
loves teaching.
even if you were to accept his premise, go do the spandex series for
Mhm,
2
and
years,
come back rich
make
and
the
come back and
money,
teach.
and then
Yeah.
Right?
and come back
Buy
and
those
fund,
kids some name brand
and
sodas.
fund the theater department forever.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what. No, like this is the stupidest
It's-
decision you could. I mean,
It's such a dumb fucking decision, no matter what you
if
think
you
about
wanted
it.
to make it, you could have made the argument if you had basically said if that had these kids like say, yeah, but when you come back, we won't be here anymore. If he's like, I want to teach these kids.
Right, and that would have sold if we spent time
And
with
yeah,
If I knew,
these
really knew
kids.
these kids.
But we
Yeah.
don't do.
Yeah,
I will give you guys $100 to anyone who can name me one of the kids.
yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like, this
Come
is
on.
such a. I was watching him like, what? You are so fucking
The
dumb.
one that
You are-
almost quit?
You are
No,
not going to
Yeah,
go.
what's her name?
You're not going to go.
Come on.
You're not going to go to Tunisia with your beautiful girlfriend who adores you and
Yes.
do this amazing role that you should never have been given. You're not going to
Right.
do any
Yes.
of that, so you can stay here with a principal who
Well,
doesn't like you.
Motherfucker, they cut to 4 months later. He's still catering because I'm like, oh, right, because you're
You're-
alimony.
'cause you
Because
can't
you are
make any money.
financially
Yes.
fucked. And
Yeah.
you willingly hurt your children.
Yeah.
What
that
I
we
would
don't
have
see.
So instead, I would have loved him going like, but I wouldn't be able to teach these kids, and like have it be at a moment where Ron is like, I'm your child, or have somebody point out that like you basically have a child. It's your friend Ron, and you could fund his business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like since he does not own Party Down.
What about he has actual children
So the thing is,
that he
Oh,
has
yes.
to pay alimony for.
if they wanted to do a thing where Henry doesn't go off with her for whatever reason, there's so many ways they could have done that
There's-
didn't involve Henry
yeah.
being an idiot. And so
I've seen it.
that
I've
is a
seen it
big
done.
problem. That said, it's still another great episode. That
It is a hilarious
Oh, yeah,
episode.
yeah. It's really fun.
her surprising him with a rap party that his
Yes.
thing came.
Fucking
What a
Mittman.
great premise. That's a great idea.
That's great. He hiring his. Hey, wait, do I have to work this?
I love
Oh man,
that. I
Ron
love-
getting stoned with Mittman is great.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yes.
Mittman is all that guy is always great. And,
Well, also
and
Yes.
because it's also confusing because he Adam Scott is the one that suggests carrying on the after party
Mhm.
and frankly risking his job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. So you don't want that job.
I was like,
Yeah.
so clearly he is intending to leave
Yeah.
because like this is an I don't give a fuck about working here.
yeah,
This
right,
is some last night of work shit.
So I'm like, okay, so in his mind, he's already gone to Tunisia or
yeah,
whatever the fuck.
yeah. And that's
And they turn it around at the end, like, what?
and see that's the thing. That it doesn't feel true to. It's like in Curb Your Enthusiasm. If suddenly Larry had a come to Jesus moment and suddenly had a conscience, like
Right.
it doesn't work. If you had this where Henry does all this and he's like, fuck it, I'm not going to have this job anyway. Let's give these kids one grade last night. And then he gets a little sad
Yeah.
about, oh, maybe I'm stuck. And then something goes wrong with the movie. And then he doesn't have the job and then he's stuck. That's in line with Party Down.
Sure.
Circumstances
That's very
work
in line
against
with
you.
Party Down.
But these guys don't make stupid decisions like this. They make decisions that then they do things like Dick accidentally having a thing that blows up in his face, or Martin Starr not doing things that, like this was such a weird out of character thing for Henry, who's always been portrayed as sort of the smart guy in the group.
Yeah, well, he's smart and also he's realistic. And honestly, this is not the romantic decision. It's the
Yeah.
realistic decision
Yeah.
to go off and do this for a couple of years, and then have the fucking wherewithal to like, hey, I can go do a convention anytime I need money.
Right.
Like,
But
you're
also
financially, you would be secure for the rest of your life.
like I say, there's so many ways to write that is not the way they did it, and I did not like that. I was literally
You know
yelling
what
at.
will
I
be
was literally yelling at
be
him as I was
here in 2
watching it.
years? The theater department.
I was
Party.
I was like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? What are you doing?
Well, maybe not.
Right.
Who knows who owns Party Down, Les?
So that bit was hilarious, and
all right, so I just did a bunch of ayahuasca, but
of course, Ron is fucked because Ron is an idiot and always has been.
I just love they did it in the first episode when the Gene Steen, the greatest lawyer in the world.
I never said that.
Yeah, like in the first episode when he screws up, like he's like, Ron, you're the one that keeps calling me that. I never said that.
Never said that.
I'm pretty terrible at this.
Because we're ready to blame it on Jane Lynch's manager.
I was sure she was being robbed blind. That we were going to find out that her accountant had stolen all her money. Nope.
Nope.
It was
Gary Fierro.
Occam's razor, buddy. Like this fucking what's the simplest person? Like
yeah.
And
so who owns it? I don't know.
Also, of course, Smidge went under faster than Roku, which makes sense.
Which he doesn't have his. And he like his idea is all gone on a spreadsheet. I'm like, cool. I know you're prissy about it, but I guarantee you, your idea is fucking where you can just insert names and fucking keep your idea.
You know what I did though? I did like though that they had the high school kid pitching him sci-fi ideas, and he kept shooting them down. And I also loved Zoe Chow, who again, she was the MVP of this whole thing.
$2,000 worth of wasabi
and saffron.
If you brought the show back with her and a whole new cast, I would watch it because she was so good.
She is. I did not realize how good she was going to be in this, but she's the MVP here, and how good she was in After Party.
Yeah,
I'm so glad they got her for season 2 of After Party.
Roman at the end getting to say to her, "Well, just start again, do something new." I was like, "Oh man, that's so brutal."
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I knew it was going to come back around because you knew the entire episode that somebody, I didn't know who,
somebody was going
to eat that fucking wasabi ball.
Right.
And I love that it's Ron and it cures his long COVID.
Yeah. Oh man, so good.
Smelling.
I can smell again.
Because the wasabi, like Les, even before he, like the minute the thing came up, and Les was like, "Someone's gonna die because their sinuses are gonna blow out because of that."
Yeah, it was like she described it, and I was like, "That is going to absolutely drop someone to their knees."
The reason we knew no one ate it yet was because no one was dry heaving.
Right.
Like,
no, that was perfect. It was Chekhov's wasabi ball.
Yes, mentholated wasabi.
Yeah,
guys, do we have the actual Sprite? Like, we have store brand.
Yeah, that's when I was yelling of like, go to Tunisia for 2 years.
God damn it,
and fund these kids some name brand Sprite.
Yep.
Like if you were to tell the kids like, dude, how about you make the next generation of the 10 years of kids you're going to teach? How about make their lives better rather than hanging with us?
Yeah. Come back and help us with our college. How about that?
Right.
How about like dude,
how many of you are juniors? Cool.
Fuck, I talk to any of those kids and they're going to fucking talk you out of this.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Then there's the all of that is in service, of course, to keeping Henry there so that we can get that big surprise thing at the end, which by the way, I did not expect. I knew there'd be something. I didn't fucking know that was what it was going to be.
Because of the pacing of it, I didn't think they were going to do it until when they cut to 4 months later, and I was like, here's Kaplan.
Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. When they cut to 4 months later, you knew that's what it was.
Yeah.
But that was great.
I honestly thought, like, because if they had introduced her to have him stay, I was like, that would have been like, oh, he's going to go then. Because that would be what the show would do.
Yeah.
Because he stays, now we introduce Kaplan.
Yeah. And I guess I saw a Variety interview with her, and I guess the deal is that basically she was doing Fleischman. And so she literally could not do this, and she wanted to. And here's the other thing in this interview. She basically said they kept it a secret, which is kind of surprising. She's like basically like craft services and like the crew all knew about this. Like nobody said anything. So
wow.
Like all they did was they said, "Hey guys, we kind of want to keep this a secret," and everybody did.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Like
warms my heart.
Adam Scott just said it in the office memos. He's like, let's try not to get this out. But they didn't do like the redacted scripts. They didn't do a thing like.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So like they did.
Disney's had to kill people for that kind of secrecy.
I know.
I assumed. Okay.
So they did. They had a shot of paparazzi footage of Casey and her boyfriend in Central Park that they shot in one day. That was originally going to be in the first episode. And Adam Scott was like, "Look, if we show that, they're going to know there's footage of Lizzie, and they know she's coming back."
Show red carpet footage of her. That's smart.
Which is smart.
That's smart.
I'm like, if they see we have fresh footage, they're gonna know that she came back and shot more. And I'm like, wow, that's really smart. That's really good. So yeah, basically they shot it in New York. It was just Adam Scott, Ken Marino, and the producers. just like a little thing. But basically, she said basically if they do a 4th season, she's like, there's no universe in which I wouldn't be in it. They would have to tie me to the train tracks to keep me away.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That might be why there's a 4th.
but that's
Yeah,
why
that
there might
might
be a
be.
4th season. I mean, but still, that's crazy.
That's nuts. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that when the episode ended on that cliff, I was like, no fucking way.
That's why they left it. That is,
Yeah.
Lizzie Kaplan is 100% the reason they left it as open. They're like, well, we might be able to go to Starz and say, look, we know we can't get everybody back in. Adam said he'll do a few episodes, so that we can do the Adam and Liz, so the story of Adam Scott. We can do Lizzie and Henry's story, and we can have Rome. We can have Dick having written off. Actually, they could get him back in. Actually, I think Adam Scott is the hardest one to get back in.
Yeah,
Probably.
Well, I mean, they have already started to Skype Jane Lynch in.
Yeah, Jane Lynch and Megan Mullally, neither one of them is necessary for the show.
How funny is it going to be if people who should play Henry or who have played Henry just stack up on the executive producer list as they keep having to change main actors?
Yeah.
Because like Paul Rudd's already in the list and he got too famous before they first did it. He was supposed to be Henry and he got too big like before they could do it.
They're just gonna bring in Randall Park and have him play.
I'd watch the shit out of that.
Hell yeah. But also, like, what's his name? Like, he got the Lost Boy audition.
Yeah.
And then he finds out he's the dad.
He's the dad.
And Roman, like, what was it? Roman was like, I needed this. I needed this.
Oh man, Martin Starr's just like honest laughter break of like, oh, yes.
Yeah, that was great. This every time I see Martin Starr in this, it makes me want to rewatch Silicon Valley because he killed it on that too.
I rewatched the pilot of that with Fanny the other day. I forgot to put that in the list.
But yeah, this other than the weird decision with Henry, which I know why they wanted to get there. I don't understand how that's how they decided to get there. It was another great episode.
Well, even when the vice principal Mittman saves his job,
yeah,
he's like, "You remind me of a young me."
Okay,
that should have been it.
That should have been
honestly,
it.
I wanted that to be the bit.
Fuck everything I just said. Fuck everything I just said.
Yeah,
and then walk out the door.
Yeah.
Credits. I would have ended on a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been better. There's so many ways they could have done it. They didn't, and it's kind of a bummer because usually this is a show I watch and I'm like, no notes, perfect. This is one where I had a really big fucking note.
No,
I'd have cut to 4 months later and then them having hired party down and like
I had no complaints about like the any of the others. I honestly thought it was like since I had just watched the previous seasons, I was like, this is better.
Yeah,
this is better than the other seasons.
But that decision is baffling.
Yeah, it was.
But the decision
genuinely weird.
The decision not to end it makes more sense to me now that I'm like after I read that interview, I was like, oh, okay. Lizzie Kaplan said, "Look, I'll do it." And,
that was like
and they're like, "Oh, I forgot we could pitch this."
The penultimate episode of the last Star Trek Lower Decks episode, where they went on like Maribin, like, well, how do none of you believe me, or with Mariner, and like, oh wow, a legitimately narrative misstep. That's so rare here.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Ted Lasso, which this week sees the first matchup of
a work in progress.
Yes, a work in progress. Work in progress. We see Ted and Nathan matching up for the first time.
I'm starting to see how they're gonna fucking bring me back around on Nate.
They absolutely showed us this time.
Sons of bitches.
And it's so smart. There is no single conversation. There's no monologue you could put in that actor's mouth that would win me over in one move. No apology.
Nope.
So you show him genuinely wanting to and getting stymied several times in a row.
Yeah.
And I can feel it already working, you motherfuckers.
And also the bit with Jade, who just does not give a shit. This is what Nate's life is. His life is entirely trying to win over the people he hasn't won over and not recognizing the people he's already got. It's all and that's because it all goes back to his dad. His dad has treated him his entire life, and he is always looking for someone. And until his dad says, "Hey, I love you and I'm proud of you," he gets into fucking therapy, he's never going to learn that lesson.
He will.
And I think the true sign that we're gonna we're gonna see him eventually talk to Ted and apologize for how he left, and we're gonna see him eventually, I'm sure, talk to his parents and stuff. But the real sign that Nate's changed is gonna be Jade.
Yeah.
Because you could see the moment when the manager was being such a fucking tool and was like, from one manager to another, this guy never pays, except for And Nate's just kind of quietly corrected, like it's not really the same job anyway.
Yeah.
Except for alcohol, we got to charge for alcohol. It's 12:30 in the morning.
You can
but okay.
see like that's the only moment where she looks at Nate at all like, okay, that guy's a tool, and you're more on my side than his side. Okay.
Yeah.
But I love that she's clearly pointedly calling his name wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing,
Jake Jelly.
the other thing I need from this show, and I think we're gonna get it. I need Ted to get legitimately mad because
And he's close.
because
I think they're close.
Beard and Roy and everybody else, they're not wrong. Ted
and I
needs
love
to
them
be
constantly
mad.
calling him out on it.
They're not wrong personally. Professionally, they are wrong.
That was hilarious that they over-ramped the team.
This was the episode. This is, by the way, was the episode of everybody not apologizing to Ted when they fucking should have. Nate didn't do it. Roy and Beard sort of do it, but they really should have been like, "Holy shit, we're so sorry."
They just want him to yell at him
And then I thought I was mad at Dr. Jacob, and I am. Fuck that guy forever. But his fucking wife, when he takes, you know how hard that was for Ted to have that conversation with her, and she doesn't even say I'm sorry.
No.
Nope.
Fuck her.
Yeah, I was really surprised at the end of that when she's like, "Okay, Ted."
Yeah, I was like,
okay,
what the fuck? She's not going to say I'm sorry. Nothing.
And I'm not saying that I don't need an apology from her for having a new relationship or anything.
No,
but just, what Ted specifically says hurt him is not her currently dated. It's him having found out like this and not been talked to.
I should not have found out like that. That was not fair to me.
And that's
and good for Ted.
And she should have said, "I'm sorry. You're right. It was a hard conversation." Something. But like,
not that I needed your permission, but I should have let you in on that. We should be communicating better than that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I love our family no matter what it looks like.
Yeah. And she didn't. She gave him nothing. Yeah.
And that was the point where I'm like Les, that's big for him. He doesn't take Nate's Lego thing off. He's not ready to give up on Nate.
Nope.
But he goes ahead and shows some anger.
But he's baby stepping.
And I think it's the baby step towards him eventually being mad at Rupert and Nate.
That's that's the first decision I've seen Ted make where it was
really.
innately right for him.
Yeah.
It was right for him to do it, and it was not about anyone else. And I love also that I thought he was protecting Nate from the video.
Yeah, I did too. But
me too.
But then showing that them like making them mad and
that didn't work.
Ted's right. Nope, you don't want them playing from anger, and like that's not how we beat Nate.
But there's also like he's such a good coach when he sees what they've done.
There's no coming back from
there's no fixing that right then. So all he can do is like, okay, that's my surprise. Okay. And he goes back out in the hall and doesn't say anything about it right then because he knows they're going to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
And they learn their lesson, and he doesn't have to yell at them. They know what they did. They fucked up, and they want to feel better for him to like just yell at us, like hit us, do something.
In terms of
what
great,
in
terms of great acting moments, the actor that plays Nate, his moment with the reporter looked so real and genuine when he said, "It was a big snub for you to not shake Coach Lasso's hand." Did I not?
Yeah. His face like that, and he legitimately did. Like he didn't think of it. He immediately felt bad.
Yeah. Well, that's because
he's
the Nate
ended the interview to go do it.
The Nate that we've been seeing up to this episode was not the same Nate. He's the image that he's put on because he feels hurt. He feels like Ted hurt or betrayed him, and so he put on this thing that unfortunately Keely and Rebecca kind of birthed this monster of like making him confident, but only by giving him this false persona. He can't be confident in who he is. He has to make up this angry Nate character to be who he is.
Yeah, spits in the face of other Nate.
Yeah, spits in the face of other Nate, and that's.
But it can't hold up infinitely.
No.
And Rupert is there supernaturally, like it seems like but he won't be there forever because just like we saw with Rupert. Once they hey, you put on some baby weight, so I'm gonna go fuck with my assistant. Like, he knows how to make you feel special. Until he doesn't have to anymore.
Yeah, and that's Rebecca told us that exact story, and we got it, and that's exactly what's gonna happen.
It will happen to Nate, and we're gonna feel, and no matter, even if we see it summoned, we're gonna feel bad for Nate, and they're gonna win us back on it, and I hate it. Like, just so, god damn it. Let me be mad at him.
I am loving the. We're gonna get to see Keely have to really make a choice between
Jamie,
who she was,
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I thought her friend
and a new kind of boss.
I thought her friend had a smart idea of subtly implying, because banter is about
You don't know who you might be talking to.
You're talking to. I'm like, okay, well, subtly imply and Keeley was down with it of like,
Because
hey,
that's what they'd always been doing.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun to know
Yeah.
that there
Isn't it
might
fun?
be a ball player in here?
yeah, and that was the fun of it. I'm like, yeah, and you're selling it. I get it.
Yeah.
And that was a good idea. And then she's like, do you want to fuck a celebrity? I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's not cameo. It's not cameo.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not
It's-
paying for sex cameos.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. It's
And she overstepped without talking to Keeley about it first. And it was one of those like, damn it, she hadn't done anything yet to where I was like, okay, some of these are just kind of being bold. I wouldn't say any of these are like really catastrophic.
Yeah.
yeah.
She's running the commercial pretty well with Danny.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even though she only mosaics out his face, and that hair is pretty recognizable.
Yeah.
Everyone has seen that hair yell its own name.
Right.
And also the bit with her and Jamie where she's basically like, babe, I just want to know if it's okay for me to bang him. Like,
oh,
yeah.
that was such a good Keeley. Well, he's so selfish. Except he's
Yeah.
kind of grown a little bit
Yeah.
recently. Well, but he only and she keeps running through things that are very Jamie, but then she's like, oh, but shit, he's
So,
actually gotten
let
better
me
about that.
let me ask you guys an important question. Do you think, and B, do you want? Is Keeley going to wind up with Jamie, with Roy, or on her own at the end of this? Which do you think, and which do you want?
Honestly, I could see it working any way
Me too.
because
too.
Jamie is now at a point where he is open to a relationship like
Yeah,
that.
Mhm.
yeah,
And what I realized, because comparing and contrasting him to Nate, which this show is great with doing, how emotionally smarter Jamie is than Nate, which I never thought I'd say that about.
Yeah.
Jamie is surprisingly in tune with his own emotions.
yeah,
And he wants to be better than Zava, not because he wants to be better than Zava. He wants to be better.
Yeah.
He just can't. He can't articulate it. He. God damn it! It's so fascinating watching him get up and what a
Oh.
ungodly hour it is at
yeah.
4
But it's
a.m.
4.
Yep, it's
But it's
4.
4 o'clock. It just keeps saying that. And then at the end of the episode, I had my fist in the air.
He's up before Roy. Yeah, he's ready.
He's like, "Let's go, boss!" And I was like, "You mother."
Yeah, they really turned us around on Jamie, and it's consistent because early on, episode 2 or 3, there's the bit where Keeley's like, "Would you rather be a lion or a panda?" And he's like, "Why would I want to be anything else? I'm me." And Ted's
me.
like,
Mhm.
"I don't know if you realize how psychologically healthy that is," and it is.
Yeah.
This has always been Jamie.
Yeah,
Ted
he's
just-
so comfortable being himself.
Ted just had to come in and make him a little less selfish.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't know how you put Jamie and Keeley together without me feeling like Roy got fucked over.
I think
that's the thing.
only thing you can do now is have it come around and then Jamie be the one that says, "I don't think it's a good idea for us to date,"
Maybe
and shut it down.
or
And then
I don't
Roy
know. We
would
haven't
be the one.
we haven't seen the teacher, Phoebe's teacher again, and she and Roy had legit chemistry. So if they bring
Yeah.
that back around and they give Roy his happy ending, then I can see Jamie and Keeley and Roy being more okay with it, being sort of like, this is this kid is me. I taught him all the soccer stuff I know.
Keeley has brought up something I didn't notice. Jamie has been by himself for a while. Jamie
Yeah.
has been, and Jamie was a guy that would go out and fuck just whenever,
Anyone, yeah.
anyone.
The day after he and Keeley broke up, literally the day after.
And it's not something he's consciously doing.
Yeah.
He wants to work on himself, and he's not consciously doing it.
Yeah.
He just is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's not smart enough to actually make the decision
Right.
himself, but he
it's
can.
just the thing he's doing. Yeah.
It's just a thing. Like, goddamn, Jamie is such a fucking fascinating character to me. I
Yeah.
love what they do with him on the show.
I also really like the subtlety of what they're doing with Colin and Trent. Colin,
Mhm.
Yes.
Colin makes a joke in here, and Trent gives a look, and he's like,
Where
Trent-
are they going with
it's
that?
clear to me that Trent knows the pain that Colin is in, and he
Yes.
doesn't want. He's like, this is not good for him, but I don't want to.
But where's it going? Where's it going?
I think Trent's going to sit down with Colin and have talk to him. I think it's going to be more
Right?
of that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
I
gonna-
think so too. But every time I think I know what's going to happen on Ted Lasso, they just
Yeah.
do something else.
Yeah.
I also loved Rebecca confronting Rupert the way she did, because she's still doing her kill him with kindness that her mom gave her, and
Yeah.
it looks painful every time. Like her
Oh,
having to
dude.
do that looks so hard.
Her
Mhm.
coming to Ted in halftime of like, "Hey, just forget about everything I said about winning, all right? Just
Yep.
I believe in you.
Everything's
I
great.
believe-" and she looks completely insane.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But I love the way that she handles Rupert. She doesn't she basically just whispers in his ear. She's like, I know. She's like, I know, and you better stop fucking around because you know that I'll destroy your life.
Yes. And like, hey, stop. You actually have a kid now. You can't. And I know you had a kid to hurt me.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing is, this is how we know Rebecca's gotten better too, because Rebecca season 1 would have gone to Bex and blown everything up.
Oh, would have destroyed that.
But she knows that Bex, despite Bex being used to hurt her, Bex doesn't want to hurt her. Bex is legitimately a nice person.
Well, that's the reason everyone was kind of mad at Ted this episode of like, Ted, why, like, we're all mad at Nate on your behalf.
Yeah.
And we're like, and Ted is not invalidating their feelings. Like, no, you can totally feel like that. But I also have the right to not feel like that.
Yeah.
And to realize that it's not good for, and maybe on his personal time he can and should, but on the football field he needs to be a professional.
You know what's funny is I have a friend going through something right now, and she went through something very similar, where basically everyone was like so pissed, and they're like, "Why aren't you getting mad?" And I watched it, and I messaged, and I was like, "I know that these people are they're trying to tell you they love you by being mad on your behalf, but all they're doing is making you feel like you're supposed to be mad at a thing you're not mad at." And
and it makes you feel weird. Like,
and you are doing the right thing. Like you are doing the right thing for you, but not for them. But you're not them. You're you. And I like that Ted is still being him. But I also do think that Beard and Roy have a point. I do think that Ted is suppressing his real anger.
Yeah.
And he needs to have a conversation with Nate that like he did with his wife about but Ted and both Ted and Nate are not ready to have that conversation. Well, maybe Nate, because he's trying to have it with him, actually, but maybe Ted isn't even. Maybe it's a good thing Nate hasn't had it, because I don't think maybe Ted's ready for that conversation yet.
Yeah,
He'd forgive him too easily.
He would forgive him right away. He would go right to it. Yep. Yeah.
Right, and so maybe it's a good thing that Nate. It's gonna wait longer to where Nate's really gonna and Ted's gonna really have to tell him how much it hurt him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to see. I wasn't even angry at the video of him ripping the sign. We hadn't
seen
him rip the sign.
We knew it happened.
Oh, it was so sad,
it's
though.
so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Like watching him just desperately try to do it was just like,
and he falls off.
Oh wow! Yep. I'm actually feeling bad for you.
Yeah.
Like I can't even enjoy this. It's so sad.
He was in such a state that and that's how they're going to get us back to, is like to remind us that everybody's hurt. He was hurt. He didn't mean he wasn't being the asshole. He was hurt.
Thanks, Rupert. It's Mr. McKinnon or whatever.
Oh yeah, and he changes it twice. Mannion. He tells him to call him Mr. Mannion because he's got comfortable calling him Rupert. And then when he calls him Mr. Mannion at the bar, he says, "Rupert, please." He's such a fucking asshole.
There's people around.
He's in company and people.
Yeah,
And then he calls him Rupert later in his office.
Yep.
Like, go home, Nate.
Yep.
Thanks, Rupert. Mr. Mannion.
Yep. Oh man. Oh man.
Motherfucker.
Fucking so hard. I'm at least glad they're not going to bring me on a Rupert. I can have someone to hate.
Rupert,
no, and I kept telling Nate, or I kept telling Nick that the second time that Bex made age joke, and I was like, she needs to stop doing that if she thinks she's not going to end up.
Like, oh yeah, it was the.
I don't know how our prenup reads.
Running around just shitting in a diaper all over the place. You know, not unlike his.
Takes after his father.
Takes after his father.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
come on, old man, it's after your bedtime.
And he did not take those jokes. Nope.
Oh,
nope.
But and then I love that even Rebecca was like, okay, that was funny. Like,
right.
I don't like you, but that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Bex, you're all right.
Yeah.
I hope you know what you're doing.
And that's the thing. Yeah, she's going to wind up with someone. She's going to wind up with the kids. You know, he doesn't give a shit. She's going to wind up single mom with a kid with no money. Like that's Rebecca knows that's a possibility.
Oh yeah, that's the process. That's
yeah. And Bex has no idea. She thinks
watching it happen professionally with Nate is also like
she thinks that she's his true love, and Nate thinks the same thing. Nate thinks I'm his guy,
even though it's so obvious to everyone else.
Yes,
like
right.
Yep, yeah.
But you can't tell your friend. They can't see it.
Well, and they made that point in the show. You can't tell your friends about
Yep. Oh, Jane's
sisters.
Beard. It is like, hey, Jane's sister's in town. Nope. That's the smart. That's the smart choice.
That's the right move. That cracked me up. That was so good.
Also, if with what they say in Codependence Anonymous, Jane makes me go with her.
Yeah. God, the Beard and Jane stuff is so funny because Beard is the most psychologically well put together person on the field. But you can tell, but off the field, he's a mess.
Oh, right. he's so much of a. I love the Diamond Dogs.
Y'all's baggage just matches right up.
I did not like that Trent was not part of immediately of the Diamond Dogs.
I want him a Diamond Dog so bad.
But I do like that Roy is listening in on the other side. Like,
until called on it, which voice he's like, no.
Roy, you want to get on this? Roy, come here, Roy. Come on, Roy.
So the only thing we really haven't talked about is Sassy, which I'm not surprised the way that one went, but
She makes the right decision
I am a
here.
little sad about it because I thought that she was doing they mentioned her being into wounded birds, and I thought maybe that she was trying to do that, and I think that she makes the right call.
Maybe I'm reading it how I want to read it.
Yeah.
But how I'm reading it is that, no, I do want to be with you, Ted. But if I can't be with you now.
Yeah.
You're not at the space. And him talking to his wife at the end was one step to getting to that space.
I don't think she wants to be with him in that way. I think that she isn't.
It could, and honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
There's nothing really, no evidence. That could just be me wanting them to be together because I ship them really hard.
I think that this is not. I think that's not where it's going to be. But that does leave me wondering how they're going to give Ted his sort of happy ending. And I hope they're not going the way that they showed Michelle reacting to him, even though she didn't say she was sorry, which she fucking should have.
They can't. They cannot go back to that relationship. That relationship is done.
I don't. But here's the thing: Ted's obvious happy ending is that he gets to see Henry every day again. Like that's what's going to make Ted the happiest. And I don't know how that happens if he doesn't go back to Michelle. So
Michelle comes to him, and
maybe
because that fucking the only reason that they do it in the show is so that relationship with the counselor can blow up so hard that she has to move.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's
what she do for work.
That's the other thing I love about this. I don't know where this is going. I don't know where any of this is going.
This is a show that I don't want to bet on where they're going to go.
But I have faith that they're going to land it. I absolutely have faith they're going to land it because they have so far. So far they've gotten everything right.
Time.
Yeah. So I did think this was the least funny of the episodes of season 3 so far. I didn't laugh as much as usual, but there was still some fun stuff. Also, Zorro deciding that he wants to be called Van Damme. And the two commentators, they keep revealing little bits of those guys that is always funny to me.
They're so funny. Just it kind of like Danny Rojas revealing a little bit of his backstory every once in a while. Of just like every once in a while, like
I've never been more scared except when I was in El Chapo's Junior League. You're what?
What? Yeah, don't worry about it. You don't want to hear about it. Like I feel like I do, but
yeah. This was.
I love also like we got to do they're out trying to outthink Nate with the false 9.
Yes.
And then not thinking about whether or not Zava would do it.
The whole extended, we got to think like we want him to think, but we can't think the way he thinks we think. So we got to think the way he thinks we're not going to think. I'm like, oh my God, they've gone insane. Yeah. Just a delight from top to bottom, as always. Best show on TV, bar none. I think that's it for us this week.
Yes.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Les.
Thanks, dudes.
And thank you to our patrons. Reminder, you can go to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us that $1 an episode. Listen to us talk about, well, this week, Dungeons & Dragons, but hundreds of hours of content on that Patreon. And until next time.
TV Dudes out! The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.